talked a little bit about DeepSpace last time. DeepSpace is this AI solutions platform for construction and operations, and it can be used right from design right into the operational phase. And what we're doing right now in this session is kind of focusing in on that handover from construction to operations, and how DeepSpace is used in that phase. But Andy, the things I'll like to show you maybe in another session would be how it's used in capital works, how it's used in live projects, model checking. It's all kind of a slightly separate presentation. Now, when we're talking about assets, there's challenges because you've got lots of different data sources. So you've got models, you've got Excel data, you might have other information. It's all floating around in the organization on someone's desktop or on a file server somewhere. You guys have lots of different projects, and I think that's a kind of unique challenge to have parallel projects, different stages. That's quite difficult to try and bring all that together, as well as I'm sure you've got client requirements. This screenshot is from the airport project. So they were quantifying, the challenges ahead of them on that project, which was, they had 800 models, 1.4 million assets, how they're going to collect the data, how they're going to cleanse it, how they're going to get it handed over to the airport authority. I don't need to educate you guys because you're very smart guys, but when you start using that word asset, we got to probably put some parameters around it, because you've got the physical asset on site, you've got the digital thing that existed first, that was designed, probably went through a few generations itself, right? It was a design thing, and then it went into fabrication stage, and then you've procured it, so you've paid money for it. It's got a manufacturer, it's got model information, and then you've now installed the thing, commissioned it, and you're now checking it's performing. And that's the kind of operational phase. And then you replace it eventually, don't you? So again, this is something that you guys have your head around. It's a bit of a wall of text, but basically, when you think about being an asset owner with lots of high cost assets across your entire site, the smarter the CMMS kind of operational platform is, the more optimized your replacement processes are, you save big money long term, and that's what it comes down to. If you're running pieces of equipment that are suboptimal for years, even the energy costs could be extreme, things like that. So thinking about the parallel kind of lifespans, you've got a physical asset that goes from design to the model, you order it, you build it, but the digital asset during that design stage, it kind of gets created, and maybe it starts with being something in an architectural model, then it is in a mechanical model, then it's in a fabricator's model. So along the journey, it's getting more data attached to it. Then you've got data in the model and data outside the model, and those two things, they both form a version of the truth at handover. And these are some of the data types basically that we connect to DeepSpace assets. So we kind of defined the idea of an asset because we're now saying, do you have a thing to manage assets with that level of sophistication, that connects to models, that connects to other data sources, that helps you commission the thing. And so when you've got a single DeepSpace asset, it could have any of these kind of metadata sources attached to it, whether it's model information, location data, and so on. Yeah. So when we conceptualized our solution, this is pretty much how we came about it. We started with the model because that was what was becoming the best, richest sort of source of information. DeepSpace collects model data really well and regularly. And then you go, okay, I've got model data in this massive data set. What's my current data? At any point in time, we can query that. And then you need to kind of start summarizing your project data down into types, because a particular light fixture, you might have 20,000 of that light fixture, but 90% of the metadata is going to be standardized across that thing. And then you have some kind of differences like locational info or barcodes. So some of the automations that run once we've collected this model data, are things that summarize the project by type and then figure out where those objects exist, what levels, what construction zones. This is all live, running on the airport as well. And so we've got this massive project library automatically built, and literally in Deep Space, so we can tick a box and say that light fixture is an asset, and it will go out and build the asset, portal for us. It'll say how many occurrences of that light exist, where are they, it automatically pre-fill information into the asset portal. So this is more to show you that there's a brain sitting behind the machine, that's doing the thing, and we're getting away from the idea of humans typing information in. We're pushing towards the idea of automation. And so, you sync data from Revit, let's say, which can be scheduled, so that's automatic. And then there's a series of automations that run to analyze the project on the server. Then if you want to, you can enter manual data, like in Asset Portal, and then you can export it out for your client. So these things are time savers, each one of them, because it's just a machine doing a task, a repetitive task. So these are ultimately the steps, and I'll be interested for you to kind of have a think about how you've done it in the past, in comparison to what we're proposing, which is, syncing the model data, the automations running, entering any manual info that needs to be entered, whether that's in Excel or a web portal, perhaps some validation dashboard, that says, is the right data in the right spot? And then finally exporting for the client, which is basically you guys. So, if you tried to compare that to what was done in the past, there's some kind of mixture of hard copy documentation, Excel documentation, trying to get it together, collate it, and a lot of it kind of falling off the back of a truck somewhere. We have, the whole ecosystem built in terms of data connections to Revit, to IFC, to Revisto. I know you guys have started using Revisto quite a lot. So we automatically sync with like issue data in Revisto, and that helps us to do things like tracking kind of procurement information, status on site. You can start to do some smart things with Revisto, which then tie to Deep Space, which then tie to the asset kind of workflow. We are building an AI that is going to continually kind of optimize the processes that we're doing. So I'm sure Andy is really, really good at his job, but when you put one person across 20, 30 projects and they have to try and jump between them, it's hard. And you either then have to go, okay, I'm either going to hire more Andys, or I'm going to give Andy the tools to kind of do things better. And he elevates himself to this high level dashboard view and says that project needs a lot of help and that one's going okay. And so that's where we kind of have positioned Deep Space now as this thing that supports digital engineering workflows, and there's a heap of proprietary technology in there that make that happen in terms of how data is stored, how it's analyzed, and right up to the AI layer. Just some features, we've talked through most of them. Model data capture, the data warehousing is included, pre-processing, spatial detection, analyzing the status of our data collection process. Where are we up to? Do we have the info yet? Is it ready? Asset identification. So it can be done manually. We can say that object's an asset, or we can set up mappings. And so depending on how strict your kind of modeling workflow is, you could theoretically build, a bit of a mapping system that says if the family name looks a bit like this, then it's going to be an asset. Now it just depends on your depth of implementation, whether you want to go to that level. But that's what, again, the airport has done. Because the task was so big, we built a mapping table that uses the object name to help us identify assets and auto-populate the portal. And then we can write back data to the model as well. So if we've got info floating off in Excel or somewhere else, we've got scripts that can write back that information to Revit. Now, that opens up some interesting possibilities, particularly around condition reporting. We've set up workflows where you could walk around on site in Revisto. You could drop a stamp on an object that says that object needs replacing. That syncs to DeepSpace. That then syncs to Revit and kind of colorizes a Revit model or something. So you've got this kind of integrated ecosystem starting to run. And this is just kind of tying the asset AI piece in and showing the key modules in there, which is this project library, the assets app, and the data entry portal. Here's some screenshots of those things. So the project library is this auto summarizing feature where it takes your entire project. What we've learned is, on your project, you might have different teams but using similar content. So this electrical engineer and that electrical engineer are using the same kind of library of content. And so if we then summarize down to the type level, we can achieve optimizations because we do something once here and it works there as well.